I knew zero things about Slovenia other than Luka Doncic is from here. And we walked into it with the whole group of us nomads with really no idea what to expect.
I was looking for something more little, let's say, a little city, cozy city. And I was missing mountains, perfect combination of nature, mountains, these cozy little cities, living a very proper life, very connected to nature.
I really didn't know anything about the country, and I've been really pleasantly surprised. In reality, I think it's one of the coolest winter destinations that feels very similar to where I grew up, and it's very rural, lots of farms, very focused on small business.
Welcome to Feel Slovenia The Podcast, now in video. Today we're talking about digital nomads. Slovenia is such a great country for digital nomads. It's in the heart of Central Europe. It's one of the safest and greenest countries in the world. The population speaks excellent English. It's really well connected. It's in the heart of the EU and the Schengen area. And it's logistically an easy place for foreigners to come and bring their work with them. As of the 21st of November 2025, Slovenia introduced a digital nomad visa that allows you to come for up to 1 year and work remotely. It streamlines this process and makes it a welcome place for travelers from around the world to bring their work and live in this beautiful country. But what's it like to actually be here? Well, today I'm joined by 3 digital nomads who have made Slovenia their temporary home. So what's it really like to build a life here? Not just stay for a short time, but for a long haul. Let's get started. I'd love to hear how each of you decided to come to Slovenia. What was the tipping point, and was it more emotional or strategic? Ben, maybe you could start.
Yeah, so I actually found out about a workation for digital nomads, which is kind of a community-based thing to bring nomads together and find a sense of community. And I found it through a Instagram ad, actually, which is the first time I've ever found anything through that. And I knew zero things about Slovenia other than Luka Doncic is from here, and just booked a flight. And now I've been here for 3 months at this workation, experiencing rural Slovenian life, and I absolutely love it.
We'll work on the pronunciation, Luka Doncic.
Doncic.
But that you're doing great if you know who he is. We're already approving of your content. Yeah. So we'll come back to hearing more about Bovec, where you're based in particular, because that's a beautiful spot, but it's not on everyone's traffic pattern, especially when they first come to Slovenia. So I'd like to circle back to that, but Dino, you want to tell us a little bit about how you decided to come?
Sure, of course. Originally, I'm from Slovenia. So, but I'm returning back to Slovenia, to my home country, from Barcelona, from Spain. Been there for a few years, and just decided that it's time for me to really come back to the roots, come back to connect back with my country, with everything that it has to offer, especially now in the lights of opening up to digital nomads, to the whole movement and everything. And I think I came back at the right time. So I'm happy to be back here.
That's always a good sign when somebody goes elsewhere and decides, you know what, it's pretty cool here, and comes back for more. Excellent. And Fernando, tell us about your journey. How did you come to Slovenia?
Well, I've been working or living like a digital nomad for, 4 or 5 years. And after spending the last 2 years between Budapest and Madrid, I was looking for something more little, let's say, a little city, cozy city. And I was missing mountains because in Hungary there's no mountains. I've been in Estonia also, and there's no mountains. And I think here it's the perfect combination of nature, mountains, these cozy little cities, very accessible. So I decided to come here.
We're so glad that you did. It's really exciting times because the digital nomad visa can bring interesting creatives who might not otherwise think to come to Slovenia and make it as easy and smooth as possible. So Dino, okay, from the inside, how do you see the digital nomad residence option changing the global conversation about Slovenia? I imagine it's more than just symbolic, but how does it reposition the country?
I think it repositions the country very well. I'll say it like this, though the digital nomad visa itself might not be the main decisioning factor for digital nomads to really come to Slovenia, but it does put Slovenia on the map in terms of okay, there are possibilities, and it's an indication that things are going to start developing in terms of digital nomad infrastructure, everything that can be offered to digital nomads, and that certain new activities, after all, are going to be started organizing, such as vacation, retreats, maybe some villages, nomad villages, where people, digital nomads from all around the world can just start meeting and start experiencing what Slovenia has to offer.
Speaking of digital nomad villages, it sounds like you found one. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the digital nomad community where I'm staying in Bovec, it's from a company called Hubs Travel, and basically they have a solution for kind of this loneliness that sometimes affects digital nomads, while also solving the problem where a lot of the times digital nomad friendly places, all of a sudden the locals become priced out because they're coming in with more income and pricing out or taking all these housing opportunities. And instead, when you take rural villages like Bovec, who kind of lost a lot of their winter tourism because the ski resort closed, now you have people coming in and filling these empty apartments during the winter when it's basically dead, and bringing a bit of life to the village while also keeping it affordable and helping support local businesses. And for me, the biggest thing with my travels and just being a nomad is making sure that my being in a place is not hurting the local economy as much as possible. And that's kind of why I picked this place, Bovec specifically, and that it's in the mountains and near skiing and very close to amazing hiking trails.
It sounds like a really symbiotic relationship with the local community and the guests. That's perfect. So before you got here, how did you imagine life would be in Slovenia? And now that you've been here for a little while, what has surprised you? Would you like to start, Fernando?
It's a bit tricky question because I've been here before,
Okay.
visiting and going to the mountains. So I made my idea of how life is here. But I have to say that, I settled here last July. It was summertime. Everything was shining, warm weather, lots of lights. So for me, it's like living a very proper life, very connected to nature. That's I think it's very important for me. You got this need of being outdoors all day because my city, Ljubljana, is vibrating every day. You need to go to this mountain or to this lake, or I want to see this waterfall. So there's lots of things to do. So for me, it's like this energetic kind of life being here. Yeah.
Sounds great. You of course knew what it was like, but maybe I'll change the question for you. When you returned from Barcelona, what did you think it would be like for you having returned to your homeland, and then what surprised you?
What surprised me is that I think in the meantime, probably Slovenia didn't change as much as on its own. It's probably something that I changed.
And what about you? Your vision and the reality?
Yeah, I mean, I had basically no idea what to expect from Slovenia because I really didn't know anything about the country. And I've been really pleasantly surprised by what Slovenia is like, because it's actually a country, and specifically where I'm at in Bovec, that feels very similar to where I grew up. I'm from Vermont in the US, and it's very rural, lots of farms, very focused on small business, and just this local friendliness of everyone knowing each other in these smaller villages. So for me, being in Bovec feels like being home. So that's been really amazing for me, especially to have that in a different part of the world. So yeah, I've loved that.
How about the admin and bureaucracy? I'm always curious about this. To me, because I used to live in Italy, and there's a lot of bureaucracy and things still don't work here. I find that there's bureaucracy, but then things seem to work. What was your experience with the first month? Was it easy enough to get your stuff sorted and to get your papers in order and whatnot? Or was it labyrinthine in any way?
No.
Maybe you go first, please.
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of easy. I got my tax number in 3 days, I think. All the bureaucracy is internet oriented, so you can send all the documents via email or via internet. So I think bureaucracy is kind of easy. I think Slovenia is doing some kind of effort to make things easier for foreigners. So I would say it's perfect I'm coming from Spain. I think it's kind of
it's similar to Italy. It can be a little bit chaotic, and there's always a magic piece of paper you didn't know existed that you needed yesterday, and you have no idea how to get it, and neither does the person in front of you. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm familiar with that system.
Yeah.
In terms of where you chose to base yourself, Ljubljana is probably an obvious choice. Maribor is only an obvious choice if you know Maribor. Bovec is not an obvious choice at all. So you picked Bovec because these Instagram ads, normally it's like things you don't think you want or restaurants that you'd like to be eating at, and they know your algorithm. So you just had this magic thing pop up and it said, come to, what did it actually say actually?
It was basically just an ad for the hub's travel community.
Generally.
And basically I was looking for a place where I'd be able to post up for 2 to 3 months for the winter and get a snowy winter experience and be able to ski. And most of the digital nomad things I was looking at that are community based are really expensive. So this was the most affordable price I'd found for anything of that sort. And since it was a rural community or a rural location and a community, that's like what I was looking for. So I just went ahead and booked it, and it ended up being the perfect choice.
So it was the experience that led you rather than the specific location.
Yeah, definitely. Up until like flying here, I still didn't really know much about Bovec or what awaited me really, because there wasn't that much information when I was booking everything. I just knew there were some ski mountains around the area, and it looked like a nice rural mountain town. And I think that sense of community that I knew I was going to have in a rural location, which is usually the biggest issue as a nomad, is I want to be in rural mountain locations, but it's pretty hard to meet people in those places unless you're going somewhere where there's specifically a community already. So once I found that, it was all good.
Were you also led by the idea of what content creation I'm going to be able to make here? Or was that a secondary consideration?
That was definitely a secondary consideration. Originally, I was just coming here for 3 months to take a break from content creation because it'd been a really busy travel year, just all over the world, and I just needed a break. But then upon arriving here, I kind of got more inspired again about making ski videos and showcasing a different part of Europe that most people don't go to, especially as an American. And kind of got my creative spark back for that between Slovenia, Italy, and some weekend trips we did. So now I have been actually creating content while I've been here, which I didn't think I was originally going to do, and also making videos for the hub's travel that I'm doing because I realized how amazing it was, and I was like, oh, I want more people to experience this because this is a solution to a problem I've been finding all over the world for digital nomads.
That's great, and it's also good to hear that you were inspired enough by the place you chose that you wanted to do extra work in effect, even if you're on a quiet sort of winter getaway.
Yeah, exactly.
Maribor is much cooler than most people realize. And I have a feeling it's a great place to live. Tell me a little bit about why you chose Maribor.
Very good question. I'll borrow your words. So if Ljubljana is an obvious choice, I'll say Maribor should be an obvious choice. After all, being the second biggest city in Slovenia, it has everything that Ljubljana has to offer in terms of infrastructure and everything that you need within the city. But what I love about Maribor is that it has nature, amazing nature surrounding it, even closer to the city. People are amazing, very, very nice starts here, amazing folks. Food, probably it's one of the best food regions in Slovenia. And also it has, that's what statistics say, it has way more sun than central Slovenia, especially Ljubljana. So I think considering all this, and I think it's also becoming like Ljubljana becoming a bit too crowded. I think people start to discover other cities, bigger towns, cities in Slovenia to just settle there. So as opposed to Ljubljana.
Fernando, Ljubljana is probably the default choice that most people would make if they're not sure where else to go. You talked a little bit about why you chose it, but maybe now that you're there, was there anything that caught you off guard or you needed to adjust to culturally? Or having lived in a number of places in Europe, there was not too much of a shift?
Well, there's not too much to change. And Ljubljana is an open city. There's lots of foreigner people there. So you feel, or at least I feel like home from the first day.
Mhm.
No, there's no shifting needed, I think. Not at all. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that means that everybody's welcome and it's really easy to adapt. What about work life? So has anything about being in Slovenia changed your productivity, your routine, or your ambitions related to the work that you do as a digital nomad? You want to go first, maybe?
Yeah, of course. Thanks. So what changed for me is living in Barcelona, being a big city and all around Spain and everything. It's obviously it's a way more fast-paced life than here in Slovenia, which now coming back to Slovenia, I see this at this point in my life fits me way more. So it's a way slower life. I have way more time that I can spend in nature. Obviously, there's way more nature in Maribor and in general in Slovenia than in Barcelona and surrounding of Barcelona. So we have way more time to spend to go out to mountains, hike, and so on. Plus, coming back to what I said regarding the slow life, just again, new town, new city to experience in a slower mode, taking our time to really explore it, to dive into the community and everything, as opposed to just going to events in Barcelona, which is amazing, and going to the beach and enjoying all the activities that are happening there. It's amazing, but it's also at the same time tiring, which in Slovenia, again, a bit slower, everything, it's perfect.
There's a work-life balance. I had that too when I
Exactly.
lived in London or Rome. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
And when you, especially if you're younger, if you don't have a family, then okay.
Yeah.
But then it's the work-life
Exactly.
balance, and there are fewer things to tempt you, but then you
Yeah.
choose more selectively and you maybe
Exactly.
have a deeper experience of them.
Very well put. Thanks.
Ben, I understand you came across an unusual and exotic festival. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw and experienced?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to go to one of Slovenia's traditional carnivals, which was the Dresnica Carnival in the town of Dresnica. And it's one of the oldest ones in Slovenia, or like one of the oldest traditional ones in Slovenia. And it was definitely an experience that I had not expected. We walked into it with the whole group of us nomads with really no idea what to expect. And before knowing the whole story and what was everything going on, we were just speechless because it was pure chaos of different things
So
happening.
walk us through what you saw that left you speechless, because it's quite
Yeah.
visually distinctive.
Yeah, so basically, as we arrived, the whole village was kind of still putting everything together, and then you start having people coming out in like monster costumes, and so there's like the Tagridi and the Legridi or something like that. It's the ugly ones and the pretty ones, and the ugly ones are kind of like the bad winter spirits, and basically the gist of the whole carnival is to usher out winter and bring in and welcome spring. And so you're like getting rid of the evil winter spirits and you're welcoming the like more better energy spring spirits. And so it's also traditional for the boys to become men at the like in theory at the carnival. And so the ugly ones, these monsters, they're basically running around with these little bags full of ash, and they're like whipping the kids who are basically running away from them. And so you basically just see kids like running back and forth with these monsters chasing them. And the monsters have like these giant cowbells on them too, like these like Swiss cowbells. And so this just super loud, you got them running both directions. And then at the same time, there's basically a bunch of other characters like a policeman, a doctor. There's like this like fat pigman kind of thing. I still don't even know what that name was. And all of this is also going on at the same time. So they were making like an applesauce, apple liquor type of thing. And then there's also the doctor that's taking people out of the crowd and giving them shots and like healing them. And then eventually the fat man becomes ill and the whole community kind of comes together with a few volunteers, which ended up being my friends, to basically cut this guy open and take meat, and there was a dead crow in there and a few other things, and throw it into the crowd and then stitch him back up, and now he was saved. And they're jumping around, and I'm not sure what that part had to do with the other part of the tradition. I think they kind of have like a little bit of freedom to put on a show. But overall, it's such an amazing experience that I don't think a lot of foreigners get to experience, especially that specific festival. So yeah, I was very happy that we got to see that and that I got to make a video and share that with the world, because these type of traditions, which I also talked about in the video, the world's modernizing at a very scary rate, and places that are still doing traditions like this and still staying true to their roots are becoming more and more rare. And so it's really special to get to experience something like that.
That's wonderful, and also to see it through your eyes. If people Google Slovenia, they probably come across a different, similar festival in Ptuj, the Kurentovanje. But this is one of the more exotic ones, and it's great, not only that you got to see it, but that you preserved it in video form and shared it. That sounds very distinctive.
Yeah, I was very grateful for that.
Dino, I understand you have a professional relationship with digital nomads, not only being one. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course, sure. First of all, I'll say I love it how Ben put it, because that's the gist of what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to show to people, digital nomads that are coming to Slovenia. With my partner, we have Work from Slovenia, which is in a nutshell a portal where we try to offer everything, all the information and everything that's available to digital nomads, remote workers, foreigners that are coming and trying to experience Slovenia. Everything on one page, and everything that Slovenia has to offer in terms of what you can do besides just Ljubljana. Nothing wrong with Ljubljana, but there's way more. Slovenia has way more to offer. Similar festivals like this, which even I don't know specifically about this festival. But yeah, we're trying to present to foreigners what you can do and how you can experience Slovenia in a different way, as opposed to just what you can see when you Google it the first thing. So
if you're interested in digital nomading your way to Slovenia, if that's the verb, what's the website?
Workfromslovenia.si. Yes.
Workfromslovenia.si.
Yes.
Okay, that's excellent and good to know. I'm curious, people who have contacted you, what are the frequently asked questions, or where do people have trouble?
Obviously, the first question, especially now in the lights of digital nomad visa, are all the questions regarding visa, how to get it, why are they not responding at the administrative unit, and so on and so on. Not to go too much into details, because that's probably even out of our boundaries. So that's something that ministries have to deal with as well. But we're here to help digital nomads or whoever wants to come on this visa. So yeah, these are usually the first questions. But then on the opposite, on a more positive side, there are as well very, very nice questions that we love receiving is, for example, where we can go and experience bee. So whatever, if somebody is interested in bees, how they can engage in that community, or how they can meet someone that's collecting honey and so on. Or there are, for example, people that are interested in brewing beer. Obviously, Slovenia has a lot of also microbreweries and everything. Kamnik, being one of the bigger ones, at least in terms of breweries. So we're trying to provide as well then with such information, and this is something that really fills my soul, fills my heart, that people are seeing Slovenia also in different light, not just nature, not just Ljubljana, but also everything that it has to offer.
I'm smiling at Dino because he's from Kamnik and I live in Kamnik. And Kamnik, many years ago, I wrote an article with the question, is Kamnik the microbrew capital of the world? And the answer was, I don't know, but I put a question mark in the title so it wasn't misleading. But then if you Google, the algorithms have picked up that Kamnik is the microbrew capital of the world. But that's the only article that anybody can find is the one that I wrote. So it's one of these things where if you say a fact loudly enough, even if it's not actually a fact, it becomes a fact. But yes, very good microbrews. But this sounds like a perfect resource for anybody interested in this. And if they have questions, and it's at least when I moved here, it was tricky to do if you didn't have a local who knew the language who was going to help you. Nowadays, is it easy enough that you don't need a local?
And I haven't really done any of like that kind of paperwork or stuff, so I'm not really sure. But just as far as like being here, I felt like I can get around on my own.
Yeah, people speak decent English everywhere you go,
Yeah.
in rural areas, then they're
Definitely.
very happy to try at least, because they're enthusiastic about foreigners, which isn't the case in all countries. Some countries that have a lot more tourists, they're less enthusiastic, and here everybody's really welcoming.
Yeah, that's specifically like why I do the travel I do too, to try and be in places where there's not many tourists, because people are very excited then to share their culture and share what the place is like where they're from. And Bovec is very much like that. Katarina, who runs the Bovec workation thing, she's always saying how all the locals in Bovec, we're like the celebrities to them. They all know us. They all know like where we live, and always see us around the town, and are always just very excited to have people in Bovec during the winter now.
What about for you? Was it logistically easy enough to get sorted?
Yeah, well, in Ljubljana, everyone is speaking English, so you don't need to learn the language. But I would recommend to learn the language just to get more connected to the culture, to the people here. It makes you think different if you know the language of the country. I'm trying to. I have to say, but it's very hard for me.
Good for you. Yeah. That's great.
As I said, I would recommend to learn the language. Not needed, especially in the big cities, but it's highly recommended.
People appreciate the effort because it's not taken for granted that anyone would bother learning, both because it's tricky to learn and also because everyone speaks English well, that you don't really need it, especially in Ljubljana. But people certainly appreciate any effort you put in.
Yeah. Even the simplest words like hvala or prostite or something like that. Yeah, I think they appreciate your effort to speak the local language, of course.
So some of the obvious places people will go: Bled, Ljubljana, Piran, Maribor should be obvious, but isn't always. Bovec also should be obvious, but isn't always. Where have you visited since you've come back that you would recommend to people, but they might not think of? You want to go first?
Mm-hmm. I would say Bled.
Yeah, but see, Bled is pretty great. There's a reason these places are frequently visited. But on the other hand, they're so obvious to people that they're going to find it anyway. And I always think it's more interesting, a place that people wouldn't likely find on their own. And Bovec might be one. If you go into that region, it's quick to see how beautiful it is, but it might not be on people's first list. So what about beyond Bovec? Where have you explored that you like?
I mean, we've explored a lot of the surrounding areas in Bovec, like Desnica, Kobarid. I think Tomlin is one of the names of the towns. Yeah. Tolmin. There's a really good bakery there. Like, we've gone there a lot. But yeah, just these little towns surrounding Bovec are really special. And then just getting up and hiking around the area into Triglav. It's like one of the most beautiful places. We did a incredible hike up to Kern Lake yesterday. And there's no snow in the valley, and you drive 20 minutes and hike for an hour and a half, and all of a sudden you're in snow that's higher than your knees. And that's honestly been my favorite thing about that region. And I think, as you said, Bovec is known to a lot of people now, but I don't think people know it as a winter destination, when in reality, I think it's one of the coolest winter destinations, because you're getting mild weather and not much snow in the valley in Bovec, but then you drive 20 minutes and you can be in snow-covered mountains. So for people that maybe want a more mild winter, it's the perfect destination to live in the winter.
That's a good description. They should have you as the local ambassador of tourism, I think.
Oh, I'd be happy to do it. I love it there.
This is a slight expansion of the same question, but if a digital nomad were to write to you and say, Fernando, I'm going to come to Slovenia at first for 10 days, where should I go beyond Ljubljana?
Well, my thing is mountains, of course. Okay. So I would say not only Triglav National Park, because this is the most known. The Triglav is the mountain you need to climb to be an Slovenian.
So they say. I haven't been up yet. I'm still warming up.
Every Slovenian I ask this question say, I'm not very sure about that. So, but I would say not only that part of that. This is the most amazing mountains I've ever seen in I don't know when, but also Kamnik, Grintovec. There's lots of not very known mountains at the other side, more at the east, that should be explored. And they're not crowded, of course. So you can go by yourself, feel like alone in in the middle of nowhere, but it's gorgeous. Yeah, I would say mountains, not only Triglav, explore the other.
And is it
ones.
easy enough to find your way? Is it well signed and you didn't have trouble? So you could go on your own without a local necessarily to at least some of the lower level mountains.
Yeah, if you're used to mountains, yeah, you can do it. I think, well, it's very visual that you Slovenians love your mountains because everything is clean, everything is well preserved, signs everywhere, but not intrusive into the nature. So yeah, you can go by your own. There's safety if you're used to mountains, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We also have a special episode of this podcast, in fact, about mountain safety, where I interviewed mountain rescue teams. So if you're going to book something that's a little bit more adventurous, that it's good to go with a guide. But for lower level hiking, things are well signed and it's easy enough to find your way around.
Yeah.
Dino, I bet people ask you for itineraries all the time.
Sure.
What are some of, 3 or 4 places that you would recommend that might not occur to people?
Of course. So obviously being born and raised, and thank you for pointing out Kamnik, being born and raised in Kamnik and proud Kamničan, I have to say Kamnik and Kamniško-Savinjske,
That's right.
Kamnik Savinja Alps, and going just, even if you're not into big mountain hiking, or you can just go to Sedlo or Velika Planina, amazing mountain. But now living in Maribor and being also proud Mariborčan, I'll say that I'll point out Pohorje. And everything that Pohorje has to offer, all the surrounding in Pohorje. So you have amazing koča mountain huts with amazing food. So you can find Ruška koča, Mariborska koča, smaller farms where they have also amazing food where you can go eat, but also obviously many hiking paths there. And then besides this, also a bit lower down eastern part of Slovenia, close to Podčetrtek, you have Drenovgrich, if I'm not mistaken. There it's also very nice, especially with families, with kids. Very nice place to go and visit. Then, okay, I'll have to go to Triglav as well and all the Bohinj surrounding. This is also a very nice path. I don't think we pointed out Triglav, seven lakes of Triglav. I think it's also one of the most beautiful paths that you can do, that you can go walking. So I point out there's obviously many of them still, but yeah, I'll stop
That's
here.
That's a good list. Jeleno Greben.
There's
a fine line between a Greben and a Grich.
Yeah, you're right.
They're both kind of hills with deer on it, but that's a good place to go. Podčetrtek.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is not a classic digital hub yet, Slovenia. It's not really on everybody's traffic pattern. Who have you spent time with since you moved back here? And this will be different for everyone. I understand you actually found a group of digital buddies. So that came with where you were staying.
Yes, exactly. So like who I've stayed with during my time here, basically the group of digital nomads were, this year it was mainly from the US, Canada, UK, and Spain and Slovakia. So it's a diverse group. Last year I think it was more like European based, not as many Americans and Canadians. But yeah, to have that community already of people that are working online and also don't know the area, I think it's even more special because all of us are exploring that area for the first time. And what's really nice too is there's the house manager, Katarina and Mateja, and they're both locals from Slovenia, and so they're giving us a lot of ideas of where to go, what to explore, and are kind of also helping with an introduction to Slovenia and making sure that we get the full Slovenian experience of everything there is to see here.
With your content, you've already presented some of the things that you've encountered here to your audience. What was the reaction like?
Really good, actually, so far. I think people were all very surprised how beautiful the mountains and how amazing and scenic Bovec and that surrounding area is, because as I was saying, in the US there's very little knowledge of Slovenia, I would say. I mean, it's common knowledge that we're not so good with our geography, but Slovenia is also just one that we really don't know that much about. When I told a few of my friends, I was like, yeah, I'm in Slovenia for the winter. They were like, oh, Bratislava, right? And I was like, no.
I'm sorry to hear that's still a problem. But
yeah, so hopefully, and that's what I try to do with my content, is go to places that you're usually not going to see Americans and try and educate and showcase these lesser visited destinations and show how special they are, because mass tourism is a problem everywhere in the world, and especially around the European continent. And when there's so many places that are so special that haven't been explored yet, it's so important to get those places known about and get more people out to them and figure out what's the best way you can do that sustainably.
That's doing a real service in a thoughtful way. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to ask you both as well. Who are you hanging out with now that you're here? Are you finding other digital nomads or locals or non-digital nomads? I'm not sure if I'm a non-digital nomad or how that works, but so who are you hanging out with since you've been here?
Well, I used to go to a coworking place in Ljubljana called Impact Hub, which I recommend, of course. Very kind people. So there's a community of people from Slovenia working there, like their office, but there's also a rotation of people coming and going and digital nomads. So you can connect with people there in places like that. If you're coming to a city like Ljubljana and you're alone and you want to connect with someone, one of these places, I think it's good for you for starting. And well, I joined the Kung Fu club here in Slovenia. Yeah,
I didn't know we had one. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Body Mind Ljubljana.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going there a couple of days a week. So it's another good
That's actually
option.
a very good, that's strategic. It's a very good way to meet people if you join some kind of club. It almost doesn't matter what it is, but something that you go to regularly and you build a community that way.
Yeah, of course. If you like sports, you can join, well, cycling club or a running club, whatever. So you have a lot of options to connect to people. And you can also go to a bar and ask for a beer and wait.
Yeah.
What happens? It's always a good option.
They're also, because of the finite number of expats who live in Slovenia, people tend to find each other. And there's some good Facebook groups, for example. Yeah. Some of them are linguistic, so there's like a Spanish-speaking expat Facebook group. There are a couple of international ones generally. And there are some places, have you been to Črno zrno Cafe yet?
No yet.
Okay.
I'm listening about that, but no.
That's one of the places that everyone seems to gravitate, especially Spanish-speaking folks, because it's run by a Colombian architect. And I was just at his house for dinner 2 days ago with the Mexican guy who rides around Ljubljana on a bicycle. And there's known figures because it's so small enough that you can't sort of turn the corner without seeing somebody you know, which to me is a really charming aspect of it, especially because everyone is so welcoming. Who are you hanging out with now that you're a Mariborčan?
That's a very good question. So it's a mix of both. Obviously, we wanna get back to our roots, and connect with people from Maribor. Which obviously, if we're not from Maribor, we have to. If we want to get into local community, we have to start hanging out with locals. So obviously, we made a very good group of friends there. But also, on the other hand, being and wanting to be engaged in digital nomad community, we also joined many of the international groups. Here I have to give credits to my wife. She's especially good in this. There are a few of very good international women groups. So I think there's ladies in Maribor or something similar. I can share later or I can send you out. And she started engaging in this kind of groups, and there's from all around the world. So there's a lot of people from USA, from US coming, and also a lot of, we actually met a few and made really good friends with a couple from US, and they're actually considering Slovenia as one of the destinations where they want to set their roots, maybe buy a house as well here somewhere in the rural area of Slovenia. But to his point, also clubs. There's a very good running club going on, started in Maribor. I think now it's spread all across Slovenia, in Koper, Ljubljana, and so on. I think it even grew more in Ljubljana. But these kind of sport activities are usually the best, where you can just meet afterwards, grab a beer, and then after 1 or 2 beers, then I think, you become very good friends. So,
So we might need to meet up here in a few years when it's a digital expats episode, not just nomads, but people who actually liked it enough to move permanently as I did. Okay, one last question for each of you. For digital nomads, what's good about Slovenia in one sentence? Want to start?
In one sentence,
or 2 or 3, whatever.
I mean, I think the biggest part of Slovenia that's so special is the nature and the mountains and how welcoming people are and how it's still so ingrained in its traditional culture, and you feel that Slovenia is different. It's not like completely modernized the way a lot of the other European countries are. Like, not in a bad way, but just that people are still stuck in their roots, and that's really special these days.
That's lovely.
I totally agree with Ben. I would only add that if you're choosing this kind of life and this is your first experience, I would recommend Slovenia, the first one, because of the easiness, the hospitality, friendly people, safety in the cities also. I think it's important. So
That's great to hear that it would be your first choice recommendation for a new digital nomad.
Yeah.
That's very
definitely.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Dino.
I'll point out to Slovenia so that everything that, in my opinion, nature is what makes Slovenia so special, and the size, obviously the size of it, but nature that it offers on such a small place. And I think then everything goes out of this. So all the nature that we have to offer, and then people really connect to this nature, locals as well as foreigners that are coming.
It really is. It's a logistically easy place to be for foreigners. It's one of the safest countries in the world, one of the greenest. It's easy if you speak English, and people are welcoming and enthusiastic of foreigners, and it's easy to get to and from. So it's got the whole package, and good food.
Definitely.
And exciting podcasts. Thanks to you for watching. This is a new season of Feel Slovenia, the podcast, with video content, not just audio. Please share and subscribe. And thank you to all of the guests for being with me today and for coming to support this country. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening.